Right, here we go. Thursday, August 29th, right around 4 p.m. Thank you for joining me on this severe weather update that is brought to you by our good friends at Farmers Insurance right here. Farmers Insurance in Rochester. Jill and Jeff Vassbender over that Farmers are bringing you this update. They service all of southern, southeastern Minnesota. Give them a holler. You might need them after this afternoon and evening as some strong storms are moving through. So let's get right to it. Again, thank you, Farmers Insurance, Jill and Jeff Fassbender, for sponsoring this. All right, here we go. Water vapor imagery from outer space is the moisture channel loop, and you can clearly see a spin up here in North Dakota and southern Manitoba, and it is drawing some dry air into the Dakotas right now. And on the leading edge of that dry air, as it runs into this moisture that is flowing up into southern Minnesota and eastern Minnesota, of course, that's a front. And that's where storms are brewing as we speak. You can see how these storms are lifting high into the atmosphere. And yeah, these are tops that contain moisture. These are cumulonimbus clouds that are spewing moisture out of them now. Here we go. Look at how quickly these storms developed on the infrared imagery. We're, of course, measuring the temperature of the cloud tops here. And as you get into these oranges and reds here that have exploded over Minnesota, these are really cold cloud tops. Some of these storms now are likely reaching to near 50,000 feet in the atmosphere. So it's cold up there. And yes, that's the reason why they are showing up as orange and red on this infrared imagery. But what's interesting is that these storms really blew up just in the last hour or two, and they quickly developed. The visible satellite imagery shows that. Look at how these storms just expanded, these cloud stops, the anvil tops of these clouds spread out as they hit the top of the troposphere. And they spread out, and then sometimes you get these overshooting tops. You can kind of see them. Let's zoom in a little bit. See if we can see these overshooting tops here. There they are. You can kind of see them here. One here, a pretty nice one here approaching the Twin Cities now. And then another one here over southern Minnesota. Those are overshooting tops, are likely making it to near or in excess of 50,000 feet in our atmosphere, hence the reason why these are severe thunderstorms. And we had on my severe weather map, this was from, I think I sent this out 2 days ago, but look at how we had this area of Minnesota, almost the whole state of Minnesota, in a high risk, which meant several warnings were going to come out of this storm system. And that's the area that we had pegged. And take a look at radar and compare it to that map that was sent out a good 36 hours ago. Look at radar from the Twin Cities. Almost mimics that severe thunderstorm map that I had put out 36 hours ago. So I'm really happy with how these storms are evolving now. And we expected them to roll through Minnesota between 2 and about 9 p.m. That's exactly what's happening. We zoom in and look at the Twin Cities is under the gun and not quite in the core metro yet, but the severe thunderstorm warnings now have been issued for the core metro. In fact, almost the whole metro, at least almost the western half of the Twin Cities metro now, and then eventually into the core metro here within the next hour or so. So the commute time in the Twin Cities, I can only imagine what it's going to be like around 5 p.m. in the Twin Cities. Oh my gosh. Hopefully you're not going to be on the highways and interstates here this afternoon in the cities, because these storms are making a beeline right for the heart of the metro, and it is going to pour for about an hour in the Twin Cities. And as we zoom out a little bit more, I don't want to forget about southern Minnesota, the I-90 corridor, Albert Lea, Owatonna, Rochester. These storms will be heading your way later this afternoon and especially early this evening. I would expect them to roll through the Rochester area probably between 6 and 8 p.m., 6 and 9 p.m. this evening, probably in southeastern Minnesota, including Rochester. As we head up to the north, hey, don't want to forget about Brainerd Lakes area. They're under the gun too. Severe thunderstorm warnings up there. Long story short, this is a fairly decent line now of storms with some embedded supercells within them. Almost exactly what we expected to happen here as we were going through time. All right. Let's get to just some quick model guidance just to show you in detail kind of what's happening in the atmosphere. This is the rapid refresh guidance for 4 p.m. this afternoon, and look at how it had some relatively strong winds here in the mid levels at about 20 to 25,000 feet coming up out of the southwest. And then as we drill down to right near the surface, or at about 5,000 to 7,000 feet. Winds are coming up out of the south. So you can kind of see a twisting of the winds in the atmosphere as you go up. That's a pretty good recipe, that twist of the winds, and an increase in the wind intensity as you go up in the atmosphere. Pretty good recipe for organized thunderstorm activity, and that is exactly what we're getting. You combine that with the significant amount of energy that's in the atmosphere. Look at the CAPE values as of 4 p.m., or at least expected CAPE values as of 4 p.m. this afternoon. We're talking 3,000 to 4,000 joules in southern and eastern Minnesota. Plenty of energy for these storms to feed on. If you stepped outside, yeah, you noticed it. It's warm. It's really warm and no doubt humid out there, uncomfortable. That's the air mass that this system is drawing from. And it even, Rapid Refresh is even saying that the supercell potential is still there this afternoon. And even as we get into this evening, supercell potential here over southeastern Minnesota and western Wisconsin. So these storms are going to blow through pretty quick. Let's just get back to radar here. These storms are going to blow through pretty quick. I would expect them to get through the Twin Cities metro by about 6 p.m. this evening. But yeah, horrible timing on these thunderstorms. But we have a lot of events going on here in the Twin Cities. We've got, of course, the State Fair, which if you're at the State Fair, you should be taking cover here within the next half hour or so. If not now, I'd probably do it now if you can. And then, of course, the Minnesota Gophers football game this evening. I think these storms will pass through the metro and be done with the metro before the start of that game. So we'll see if they get that game off on time, as it is an early evening game. But these storms are cooking. They're moving pretty fast right now. And yes, once again, they should be through much of eastern Minnesota, I think by 8 p.m. And that would even include the Rochester area, and certainly probably out of Minnesota by 10 p.m. and even western Wisconsin. I think these storms will probably be out of our hair, even in western Wisconsin here, by about 9 or 10 this evening. But they're going to pack a punch. They're going to have strong winds, straight line winds with some of these storms. And yes, even the potential for some tornadoes. We do have one tornado warning, by the way, and it's here in southern Minnesota. Let's just get a closer look here at it. One moment here. It's just west of Mankato here is where that tornado warning is, likely due to some strong winds and perhaps even some rotation here west of Mankato. So don't be surprised that that type of an environment is possible for all of us here as we go through the next 4 to 6 hours here in southern Minnesota. Take one more look at that tornado warning here for radar indicated, and it expires pretty soon here. But anyway, these types of scenarios where these spin-ups occur could happen at any moment along this line of storms that are moving to the east and northeast. So just be prepared, everybody, for some inclement weather here over the next 2 to 4 hours, along with some heavy rain. So they're going to be dropping. Before I let everybody go, I'm just going to see how much rain these storms are dropping. You're talking in some areas in excess of an inch of rain. So most of us will probably get a ½ inch to an inch of rain out of these storms. Some of us may get well over an inch of rain in these storms as they continue to move to the east and northeast. All right, there you go. There's your update. Keep your eyes peeled to the sky here and your ears to a weather radio or to your favorite weather source. And just be ready for a bumpy next 2 to 4 hours. Thank you, farmers. Jill Fassbender, Jeff Fassbender, Farmers Insurance, for sponsoring this update. Take care, everyone.